Welcome to the What Now podcast, where we document our journey through chiropractic. Our goal is to give you, the new chiropractor, our firsthand experience in running a principled, cash-based practice right out of school. Join us as we bring you real perspective, lessons learned, and the leading names in the profession as we build the practices of our dreams. Yo, everybody, what is up? Welcome back to another fantastic, amazing, wonderful episode of the What Now podcast. Spencer and Zach are back on our duo cast game. What's up, Zach?
What to do? What to do? You gotta say it.
Yep, that's right. So today's episode, what we really kind of want to get into, I guess we need to make like a post on the podcast Instagram. If you're not following the podcast Instagram, go give us a follow. It's
Yeah,
where we're going to try to,
press pause, go follow, and then share it with two friends.
yeah, we're going to try to keep you guys updated on the podcast Instagram. So
Yeah, I
go give
kind
it a
of blew it
follow
last week on that.
at What Now Chiro Podcast on Instagram. That's What Now Chiro Podcast, the number one chiropractic podcast. But today what we're going to do is we just wrapped up 75 hard. Zach made a little more of an extensive post than I did, but we'll have to share that on the podcast thing. So we're going to kind of wrap up what we learned from 75 hard. After last week, we talked about, what we learned in our business and what we would do different. So today we're going to talk about that, how our 75 hard went. So Zach, give everybody a start off and let everybody know kind of what did you do for 75 hard. We kind of talked about that, but how did you see it went? And then what are some of the books that you read and what did you learn and how did you apply them through your business?
Yeah, a lot to unpack there. I think the biggest thing, really reflecting back over the last couple of days, is realizing how long like consistent effort actually is over 75 days. I don't think I've ever done the same thing basically for 75 days straight, and that's exactly what you and I just did. And there's a frig ton of power in that consistency and doing it even on the days like Sundays for me were always days that I was like, I don't want to freaking do a second workout. Um, but I think, hitting on that first thing you said where we had a plan, we talked about our plan early on in the year. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from the jump is how important having a plan of action is going into a big event like that can be. And so sticking, I think I mentioned I was keto, so no more than 50 grams of carbs a day, trying to hit 200 grams of protein each and every day um, was my diet. And that looked different each and every day. I didn't really stick to like I'm going to eat chicken on Mondays and Wednesdays and blah blah blah. I was pretty loose with it, but I did track pretty hard the first month just so I had a good understanding, which is also something I think is super important, tracking in general, but especially as you're starting something new. And hopefully you can read between the lines what I'm trying to get out there, especially if you're just starting your practice, is tracking from the beginning.
Yes.
Um, so that was the diet. I would say I'll be honest. I think the diet was the easiest part for me. Um, and I think a lot of that was because I saw a lot of results. But I also found a diet, which doesn't happen for everyone, but I found a diet that actually worked really well for me and my goals and my day. There were never moments from the diet itself where I felt restricted, where I felt low energy. Now I definitely felt low energy at around that 40-day mark just because it was getting to be a grind. And it was no more fun. It was like, shit, I'm not even halfway through, or I'm about halfway through this, and it's starting to suck. So that's what I did for the diet. And biggest blessing that came from that is I'll probably be keto for an extended period of time, then twice a day working out. I mean, I think Spencer and I both hit on. We were following a program by our friend Jared Moon. Two different programs, but one program that worked really well for me. So that gave me 5 workouts out of the week. And then the rest was mainly rucking, which I have also found that I really enjoy. So getting over 70 rucks in the first 2.5 months feels pretty cool. And then, I mean, progress picture was probably the most annoying piece, if I'm being honest. There were a few days where my pictures are at night. So won't be posting those. Got a little extra bloat going on because it's right before going to bed.
Feels good.
But yeah, and then reading the books, right? And that was something I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed 75 hard for the most part. It did get annoying with that second workout. As I just said right before we started, like I just finished a workout and that'll be my only workout of the day. And that feels really good that I'm not having to get home later today. Tuesdays are always a jam-packed day for me, and have to fit in a 45-minute ruck or something like that to finish the day off. I can just eat dinner and kind of unwind. Um, but yeah, the books were essential, and I joined a lot. So I started off with Atomic Habits, and then I read I Will Teach You to Be Rich, and then I read 10x is Easier Than 2x, as well as I always forget the title of it, but something about overcoming stress by Kelly McGonigan. I can never remember the title, but it basically talks about um, recreating a relationship with stress, and that stress is actually a good thing when we view it as a good thing, and learned a frick ton from those books. So that's like a quick recap, and I think Spencer and I will get into more of our lessons from that. But Spence, let the people know how you finished off 75 hard, and what your plan of attack was.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I was straight up transparent. I really don't count it as me doing 75 hard. Like, I can't discredit. Andy would punch me in the face if I was like, oh, I completed 75 hard because I didn't do a second outdoor workout.
Right.
It just wasn't, it's just something I just didn't want to do. Like, if
Yeah.
we're being real, I just didn't want to do it. And one of the things that I wanted to be really intentional about at the beginning of the new year anyway is prioritizing my recovery and prioritizing my own self-care because I'm like a push, 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 push all the time. And I never take any time like for myself. And so instead, I had of doing like a second outdoor workout, I did 25 minutes of mobility and then 25 minutes in the sauna and red light, which I have like a home sauna. And then for a while, I was doing cold plunge um, for a little bit, and it was good, but it was just hard for me to consistently keep the water cold, like cold enough, and I wasn't really seeing any benefit from it. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna like say like, oh yeah, I've officially finished 75 hard. That's why like I just like yeah, I did everything else. You know, we drank the water, did the progress picture, read the book. I just didn't do the second outdoor workout, but so but I'm not going to say like, oh yeah, I've officially completed 75 hard. Just because I think it's a discredit to the people who
Yeah.
actually went outside like you
I
did.
think that's
So
I mean, not to cut you off, but I think that's admirable because I know there's plenty of people that have claimed to have done 75 hard, and they're like, well, I didn't
yeah, well,
really
I
take
didn't.
any
I
more
mean, I didn't
water.
do it, but I wasn't doing it to achieve the like
Right.
the
Right.
get the 26.2 sticker on the back of my truck or something. I did it because I wanted to have a framework to create consistency in my life, and so I
Yeah.
used the app and I used the accountability from the notifications and everybody else to basically hold me accountable there. But it's not like I didn't do it all. Like I still achieved everything.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that was really good. I mean, I did all the workouts. That honestly was probably the hardest part for me, if we're being real. Because what it did is it brought to my awareness how easy it is to just to be lazy and how many
Yeah.
times I tell myself like, I did well enough yesterday. And so
Right.
I've earned today off. Like how many days I felt like I had earned off, which was what I was taking a lot of, which showed in my first picture, which I was very round. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
that was probably the hardest part. Caitlin and I, we did like no fast food. Like the biggest thing that I learned, so Caitlin did it with me and Morgan did it with you as well.
Hmm.
The biggest thing that I learned through that is that it's really easy to be lazy and it's really easy to think that you're doing enough when you're really not. Like you're really
Right.
not doing much. Um, so like we would all the time just be like, oh, well, we don't have the time, so we'll just pick up fast food. So we always said like, we're not going to do that. Um, and like how many times like we just like indulge like with food because we both
Hmm.
enjoy food like that. So
Yeah.
um for me the diet I really was just trying to make intentional choices with whole foods. Like we really cleaned up our diet like quite a bit, which is great. And now that we're kind of off of that, I'm gonna actually move maybe a little bit closer toward low carb, not keto necessarily, but just lower
Hmm.
carb because I was like, man, dude, I eat so many carbs.
Hmm.
And it's so easy to eat so many carbs and it makes me very round. But so I did that, and then I thought that the sauna and everything actually was like it. I just had to do it late at night, and so like I was up. I mean, I'm probably up till like 11:30 midnight most
Hmm.
nights. Um, just because I like to like spend time with Caitlin and have like that kind of time set apart, and because we get back at 7:30 and then we cook food and then
Yeah.
all those things. Um, but yeah, the workouts were probably the hardest. I mean, there was a lot of nights where I was like going and work out for the first time at 9:30 at night because I had a 6:30 a.m. Bible study straight into then an 8 o'clock networking meeting, then to my admin time in the office at 9 o'clock, then shift from 10 uh, all the way until 6 o'clock. So there was a lot of times where I was working out primarily on Wednesdays because that's my longer day at
Hmm.
9:30 at night, starting that and then going in to get my sauna action on. So I was still super committed there. But in terms of the books, that was probably my favorite part, but it was also pretty tough because I would fall asleep a lot while I was doing them. But I over the course of the 75 days from the new year, I've read The Wealthy Gardener, The
Nice.
Diary of a CEO, the 10x Rule by Grant Cardone, and 10x is easier than 2x by Dan Sullivan. Marketing Made Simple by Donald Miller. Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Business Made Simple by Donald Miller. Never Split the Difference. Unreasonable Hospitality. Then Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Are You the Doctor? And then the Cash Practice Field Manual, formerly known as F Insurance. So those were the books that I've gotten through. So lots of business development, lots of marketing strategy, lots of business systems and wealth
Hmm.
creation. As a result of that, we have um, almost doubled the practice since we started, and almost definitely well over doubled our monthly revenue as a
That's awesome.
result.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the practice is going good, and I've learned a lot to apply from the books. So
Were those all, and this isn't like trying to throw shame. I'm genuinely curious. Is that all physical books or also audiobooks as well?
for the most part, they were physical books, and
Nice.
if I had the physical book, I also listened to the audiobook while I was reading the physical book. I'd say
Nice.
like the only audiobook only that I did was the Business Made Simple or the Marketing Made Simple and then the Donald Miller book.
Hmm.
I got those on Spotify, but while I was doing those audiobooks, I also made sure that I read 10 pages from a physical book because I was like, I can't like cheat any more than
Yeah.
this.
Right. Right.
So yes, I also, if I was listening to an audiobook, I made sure that I was also reading 10 physical pages of a book.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
yes,
Yeah. I
because like
think,
Wealthy Gardener is
looking,
like low key kind of long.
it's long. Yeah, that's become kind of that's like my nighttime read,
Yeah.
where it's the last thing I kind of, rather than scrolling for 10 minutes on Instagram or something, I'm trying to really reframe. And so I'm rereading Wealthy Gardener and just getting those last little downloads before heading to bed.
Yeah.
Um, but I think a big difference, just not, I guess from a comparison, like you and I are super close, and so I get to see your growth and you get to see my growth. I think a big thing, and it's not that I regret it by any means, um, but I definitely got way more worn down because I didn't have that emphasis on recovery and mobility. And it did show up in my practice. And so I think that's a valuable lesson that I've had to now learn 3 times. And my coach, Matt Morris, is, if he's listening, you could just ask him. He told me so after the second time. But last year I did a marathon and, leading up to it, I was doing 16, 20-mile runs and I was exhausted. Then 29 to 29 later that year, and that's an ultra endurance event. And so exhausted, and the practice was booming for a second, and then starting to dip. And so I've since learned, okay, how I show up in the practice on an energetical level is incredibly important. And so I think that's a big takeaway and something I um, look up to you in some sense is having that social awareness and not going for the sticker on the back of the car type thing, and rather doing it your own way. And I think that's something you've always done a really good job of.
Yeah, almost to
Um,
a fault.
and but I think you do it in a healthy manner that actually impacts and grows yourself and your business. And so that's something I admire in you and wish
Thanks.
I had more of in myself.
Yeah, I think that was the big thing is I was really trying to use the framework of the 75 hard to build better and more effective habits
Mm-hmm.
throughout my life. Now it's like I mean, it's automatic to be like, okay, I got to work out today at some point. And then I've still saunted every night because I enjoy it. It's like my thinking time. It's my me time. It's my time to recharge. I still read because now I'm invested in all these books that I have and I've enjoyed learning. and it's come up with ideas. And then I still now eat whole foods all the time. So I wanted to just make sure that I actually put in um newer, healthier habits. And the challenge was really just a vehicle to hold me accountable to it. Like I said, I said I'm going to do this for 75 days. I can't fall behind. It doesn't matter, what I'm doing.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
so yeah, I use it more of as an accountability tool than I did necessarily like a physical challenge.
Yeah. I think that's something we talked with Dr. Paul Reed about, right? Is if we're going to be expressing to our patients the importance of taking care of your health and these type of things, then we'd better be doing that on a pretty consistent basis. And I think that's something we both took away is like, oh wow, we need to be doing this, and it shows up big time.
Yeah. So, yeah, what are some of the things that if you were to do it again, what would you do differently?
Hmm.
And for somebody who needs the accountability, why should they do some sort of challenge or have some sort of framework, right?
Yeah, I honestly don't know if I would do it much differently. Um, I think I would. Yeah, I don't know if I'd do it differently. I was really happy with the way I went about 75 hard. Now obviously I just said, I looked up to the way you had done it. But to me, having accomplished that, I wasn't happy last year with the way the marathon went. I felt like I kind of crawled my way through training and those type of things. And then Morgan and I didn't finish 29 on 29. So to me, it was really important to set out on this goal and accomplish it uh, to my fullest capability. And so that was something that, from a confidence level, was really, really big. And I think that's where I would say if someone is lacking confidence, whether that's in their physical appearance or your mental strength, wherever you feel like you're lacking confidence, I think this program really helps to attack that on all levels, right? So it's not just physical. And Andy says it himself. It's not a weight loss program. Um, and there are plenty of people that do it that don't lose weight. But building those habits where, I found, and Spencer, I'm sure you have, and anyone that's, even remotely touched success, I think you learn that a lot of your self-confidence comes from keeping the promises to yourself. Because if you're breaking promises to yourself, then of course you're not going to have that confidence. And so keeping those promises each and every day that, okay, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to take a progress picture, I'm going to drink a gallon of water. Um, yeah, maybe I'm at dinner with my friends and they're all eating fried rice and noodles at hibachi. And it'd be really easy to be like, like whatever, like it's just one day. But committing to the full, um, really ingrained a lot of confidence in myself that I can set out on a task, and no matter how grueling it is, and I know there's more grueling tasks out there, and I plan to conquer those at some point in my life, not anytime soon. But from a physical and mental standpoint, I can accomplish quite a bit. And I think that was a big thing that if you're struggling with that, if you're like I haven't really seen anything to its full, haven't gone the distance, then I would definitely look into doing a program like 75 hard. What about you?
Yeah. As you say that, I really want to, once we get like our first like associate in the office, I can take a couple of shifts off. I think I really want to start doing like sprint tries and then like starting to get into like some sort of triathlon stuff. I think that stuff
Yep.
looks really fun.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I don't necessarily know if I have the space to like do the training well at this
Yeah.
point. But one of the biggest things I think that I learned, yeah, like I was saying earlier, is like how easy it is to just be lazy.
Hmm.
Um, and like how much consistency like truly matters in everything that you do. If I were to do things differently, I think I would like, I don't know, I would follow like maybe a more specific diet. I just hate measuring my food. Like I
Hmm.
measure everything else in my entire life. Like I measure how much sleep I get. I measure what my
Yeah.
heart rate variability is. I measure how many people we see. I measure how much how many miles you drive. You measure like
Hmm.
all of those things. And like food is just not one of the things I like love to measure just because I
Right.
guess the cultural way that I grew up. It's like a way for me to like relax and enjoy. And I don't want it makes food just feel like work. So I don't know. Maybe I would probably like hire a meal prepping service
Yeah.
for that.
Hmm.
I also would probably try to schedule in some time to do house chores. That's probably like one of the biggest things, dude. Like since we were cooking so much, like dishes pile up like a lot.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like you're working out all the time. So like I don't love like working out in smelly clothes. So like
Yeah.
clothes piles up a lot
Hmm.
and laundry piles up a lot. So I'd probably
Yeah.
like schedule in more. But I mean, since the beginning of the year, I've had my day scheduled out from the 15-minute mark every day for every
Yeah.
week. Um, I like operate on this like 15-minute increment schedule. So I would probably try to schedule in some time for that. And then actually, I would probably take more notes on the books that I read because I have so
Hmm.
many ideas and I have so many thoughts that move through my head. Like, oh, this is a great idea. This is a great idea. And like not having those written down, you like miss
Yep.
your moments of genius, right? It's like a butterfly that flies by. You like to hold, like you have to catch it,
Hmm.
and you have to like when you notice it, you have to catch it and materialize it, or it's just going to pass by. So
Right.
that's why I've started keeping a journal, which is not anything that I've been super consistent at recently. But I think it's going to be like my next big focus is making sure I like write down my ideas
Yeah.
and the things that I see. Um, but for
I
me,
just I just created a
accessibility is,
I did a similar thing. I created a notes app on my phone. And I'm just gonna do my best to go into that, whether I'm listening to a podcast or reading. I've
yeah,
tried the journal, but I forget it while I'm driving or
yep.
this or that. Um,
Yeah, that's the hard part. I need to try to do that. Like I know sometimes we'll text each other back and forth about our ideas and stuff, and that's
yeah.
been helpful. But yeah, I find if I pull out my phone, then I get like really sidetracked
Hmm.
because I like pull out the phone and there's some sort of notification, and then I get into like this huge like, oh, let me check all my
Conversation.
notifications now,
Yep.
and I wonder what else things are going on. So
Yep.
I have an iPad and I deleted every app off of my iPad except
Nice.
for the Good Notes. I downloaded this app called Good Notes because we use Notability for like work to like mark
Hmm.
scans and stuff. So I didn't want to mix like my mind and my work because then all I'm gonna do is think about work. But I got this app called Good Notes, and then I deleted every app off my iPad, and then I turned it into black and white only. And I took off all the notifications because then it's basically that remarkable writing pad,
Hmm. Yep.
except I didn't have to buy another tool. So now that's like my notebook, and I write all my team meetings stuff. And then from Business Made Simple, I downloaded the Hero on a Mission daily planner, and it has like a one page like actionable steps. It's just like kind of like the power list that Andy has,
Hmm.
but it just kind of breaks it down like into a thing. And so then I can create a new page every time and I can write down in the journal there. So that's
Yeah.
been super helpful and it's been keeping me on task. Um,
I think too, I mean, it's at least something I've picked up from our coaching with Matt is, he's basically has a summary of every book he's ever read. And I think
yeah, pretty
that's
much.
super admirable. And now I like look back on all the books I've read and I'm like, I don't really remember much. And so
Yep.
that's a goal of mine moving forward. Um, is okay, when I finish a book, let me, spend a Friday afternoon. That's something I'm excited to start implementing is more CEO time. Now that I'm not rushing to get a workout done, but going to coffee or lunch right after my Friday afternoon shift where it's just me time, and it's letting my downloads out. So getting a book summary out there,
Yeah.
if I just finished that, or kind of working on more visionary type stuff.
Yeah, so what are some of the things now that we're off of the program? When are you gonna
Hmm.
start doing phase one?
Hmm.
And then what are some of the things that you're gonna add in? Because that's one of the things I'm being really intentional about is I don't want to be like, okay, I'm done, and then I'm gonna go back and do nothing and just be like really loose with my schedule. Like the whole reason I did this is
Hmm.
to create new habits, right? And so if I don't stick to them and if I don't intentionally still move forward with them, then I kind of did everything for nothing. And it's just like our chiropractic care that we say, like, hey, this restorative care plan is for us to unwind stuck stress and build a new foundation for neurological health and healing to happen in your body. But if you do nothing, I mean, like, why would you even go through it in the first place, right? Like, so
Hmm.
what's your wellness plan for your 75 hard?
Yeah, I mean, I think I alluded kind of to the diet, so I'm gonna stay keto. Talking with Morgan, I think one thing, um, looking back on like how consistent it takes, and I'm reading or listening to a book, The Case for Keto. Um, but oftentimes with my dieting in the past, like I would be like, oh, it's Friday night, like I'll kind of eat whatever. And then it's like Saturday afternoon, I'm like, oh, let me indulge on some snacks. And then Sunday, I'm like, oh, let's, have a good lunch after church. And I'm like, wow, that's 3 or 4 meals that just basically completely ruined everything I did the rest of the week.
Yep.
So rather than, being keto for 5 days a week and then that kind of thing, the way I'm thinking about it, if there's 30 days in a month, that's 90 meals, give or take. So my goal is to be 90%, closer to 95% keto. So whatever that math adds up to, around like 80 to 85 meals of the month, I'm keto, and really saving that for, moments where I go out to dinner with friends, and not wanting to be the weirdo that's like, oh, I'll just have the meat and vegetables. And if there's instances where I have to do that, perfectly fine. So staying keto, my brain, body feels great on it. My joints don't hurt like they used to. Kind of experiencing everything that they talk about the benefits of with keto. I'm going to continue on Jared's program. It was funny walking into the gym this morning. Last time I was at Lifetime was Thursday of last week, and so it's been about 4-ish days. And I really reflected, and since I've joined that gym, but also 75 hard, that's like the longest I've gone since being out of the gym. So that felt really good. So staying consistent five days a week, lifting weights, rucking for over an hour twice a week. Something I want to continue doing. I think that's something I'm going to find on the weekends that's really restorative for me. Um, Continuing to read like we talked about, and then really focusing something I was focusing on after finishing Jared Moon's book, but really focusing on getting over 6.5 hours, closer to 7 hours of sleep each night. I noticed a big difference between when I would get 5.5 to 6 hours of sleep versus like that 6.5. Anything over 6.5, my body feels really, really good.
Way better. Yeah. Same.
Yeah. What about
Nice.
you?
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely like prioritize some more sleep, like trying to get some more rest. That's a big one. I want to continue reading, but then, like I said, I want to be actionable with the things that I read, and I want to take notes on them. And then, yeah, I mean, I was doing Jared's program, but I mean, I was so tired, I couldn't like really get out on these runs, and it was so
Mhm.
cold.
Yeah.
And so now that it's kind of warming up, and, and like it's not whatever. I don't know the difference between daylight savings and not daylight savings, but whatever
I don't know
time
which one we're in.
whatever time it gets darker later, that's what we're in, and that's where I like it to be.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be like super bright at 5 a.m. and then dark at 5 p.m. I like that
Yeah.
it's lighter at night. But
Yep.
trying to get some more like sunrise runs in because sunrise is over here about 7:30. And so like getting that like 6:30 to 7:30 hour like on the run, that's really nice. I always really like to like run up like with the sun, which is cool.
Hmm.
So, but on 75 hard or whatever I did, I didn't really get too many more runs in just because it was so cold. And I'm not a snowbird like you, but yeah, I want to try to run some more, and then I want to be kind of intentional, just with my carb intake, just because like I wouldn't, because you were doing keto, and so whenever I was fixing my food, I was like, oh man, I'm definitely not doing keto, that's for sure. Um, because I was eating a lot of like potatoes and rice.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was, I was like, man, like, and then I was looking at my progress pictures, and I was looking at the days where I ate more carbs versus when I didn't. And I held like so much more water, and I
Yeah.
looked so much more inflamed. And then my sleep was also way worse because it was just taking me so long to like process
Yep.
these carbs. So I'm gonna be more intentional about my carb intake. I'm gonna try to limit carbs to only like one meal a day, which I'm
Hmm.
really not like a big eater. It's just not like my chronotype. Like I don't do really
Yeah.
well with like big meals, especially in like the middle of the day. Like I'll crash like so hard.
Yeah.
I do really well with like a couple smaller meals in the morning and during at lunch, and then like a bigger meal at night. Um, so I'm gonna be more intentional about that. I'm gonna try to shred up the body fat just a little bit more. I put on a lot of muscle, like a lot during 75 hard, just because I was lifting so much. So I actually didn't see a single pound off of the scale. But I probably have lost like 2 to 3 inches in my waist.
Nice.
Um, which is good. But yeah, the legs being thick right now, so I'm gonna try to shred a couple pounds. Um, but it's good. Yeah, I enjoy working out every day, actually, or like some sort of something.
Hmm.
But it was also nice to like have my rest day on Sunday this week. That was good.
Yep.
or or like walking the dog or
Yeah.
something like that, but I'm not like
Yeah.
intentionally like going in the
Yeah.
gym.
It's something I'm sure you and Caitlin expressed too, but something Morgan and I were really excited about come Sunday. We took Bentley for a walk for 25, 30 minutes, and we're like, yeah, that felt really good. There's no
Yeah.
pressure to do more, and we feel good about that. Still got 7,000 steps in a day, which is something I'm looking to implement more of, is trying to get that 7,000 steps in a day.
Yeah, that's good. I feel like we get a decent amount, like we'll walk around the table, but dude, it's that
Yeah.
outside time. Like
Hmm.
now that it's like bright until about 7:30 at night, and so it's so nice to be able to like get in the sun because I mean we
Hmm.
work inside all
Yep.
day, every day. Everything is
Yeah.
inside, driving the car, no
Yep.
sun, like driving, like it's just always
Thankfully,
inside.
we're not at a screen all day, but I mean, there's still, I notice a drastic effect. Like if I don't take even 10 minutes on a lunch break, which sounds crazy because we have 3 hour lunch break, so it's like should have 10 minutes, but
Bro,
most of the
you
time
just don't.
meetings and
It's like,
yeah,
bro, like my
yeah,
like everybody's like, oh man, it's so nice to have a 3 hour lunch. But it's like, bro, I that 3 hours is
but that's
packed. Like I'm not
yeah,
just like chilling on the couch. Like
it's when
I'm
we're taking meetings or processing new patients
or
or
paperwork or
yeah,
calls or doing
yep,
like right now taxes, like bookkeeping. Like,
yeah,
man, dude, there's so much. And then you're like, I want to grow the business, and we're doing so much managing it. But we'll have to get into how we're growing next
yeah.
because we
Next
both have a
week,
lot of growth on the
well,
horizon.
next week we have She Slays the Day coming on the
Oh,
podcast, so
sick.
yeah.
Nice. Well, that's super exciting. I hope you guys took away some of our lessons. I think one of the biggest things about this podcast that's so valuable is that Zach and I really are just like reflecting, and we're giving you like live weekly updates on everything that we're doing. And we made some good decisions, we made some bad decisions, and we're really here to tell you all of them. And we're not just here to like tell you like, oh, practice is easy, like our
Hmm.
success comes naturally.
Yeah,
I mean, like between both of us, we've probably read more books than most people have read in the past like 3 years. Um,
yeah, yeah.
just doing that. And so I think it's great. I think that if you guys don't have somebody to hold you accountable, like I have for Zach, and like Zach does,
Hmm.
like I do for Zach, and like Zach does for me, you have to find somebody to kind of walk in line together. And it's different. Like when you have a partner, like we both have chiropractic partners, and they're
Hmm.
great, but it's different when you have somebody, especially going on the theme with Paul, like man to man, like really holding you accountable. So,
Yep.
and if you're a man and you own a business or you want to own a business and you're not following everything that Jared Moon is doing, and like we don't say this like I don't know why, but he's like our man crush. But if we're not saying that because we're paid by him or anything like that, but if you're not
Yeah.
trying harder and you're not on all of his stuff, it's like super high quality
Hmm.
content all around, from his fitness
Very, very
programs
admirable.
to his marketing to his books to all the businesses that he's in. Um, you got to get in on all of his stuff, and he'll help take you to the next level. It's worth it. So,
Yeah.
you have anything else,
Yep.
Zach?
No, I mean, I think we touched on quite a bit. If you do end up starting 75 hard and we were able to provide any sort of inspiration or that the extra push, or if you're feeling that extra push, that's a good sign that you should probably do 75 hard. And if you're waiting for the perfect time, then you're going to be waiting a long time because there's no perfect time with this. I mean, Spencer and I were both planning weddings. I mean, well, sort of.
Nah.
Our ladies were planning weddings, um, and we're both building a business. And so there's no perfect time, but if you can commit to it, you'll realize how much there is to gain. So highly recommend, and find a way to push your body this week. If it's just one day where you prove it to yourself that you're capable, then go do it. Whether that's a mile walk or 10-mile jog, then go prove it to yourself that you're capable of doing more,
Yep.
and push the limits to your body.
Yep. If your body's not where you want it to be, if your business isn't where you want it to be, if your spiritual life isn't where you want to be, if your relationships, your finances, all the areas of your life, if you're not where you want to be, it's probably due to a lack of focus. So,
Yep,
if you're listening to this podcast, we're here to help point you in a direction, but it's up to you to focus and go for what your dreams are, whether they're big, small,
absolutely.
huge, or whatever. So, thanks so much for listening to the What Now podcast. Let us know what you think. Follow us at What Now Chiro Podcast on the gram. We'll see y'all there. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the What Now podcast. If you took something valuable away, feel free to share it with a friend, post it on your socials, or give us a 5-star review. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.